a NoMoreStinkyMonkeys.com production. This next band is alternative but hardly grunge, although they were considered grunge back in the 90s when writers were throwing that term around. No, their sound is more like The Cure or a modern Pink Floyd. I was initially turned off by grunge and the alternative movement of the 90s, but eventually came around. And when I saw an episode of The Real World with my wife, my favorite song by this band was playing, and it sent chills up my spine, making me a fan for life. That is why they are number 172, Smashing Pumpkins. The Pumpkins started after the 1988 breakup of the gothic band The Marked. Billy Corgan went back home to Chicago and met guitarist James Iha. They played together for a short while with just a drum machine, being heavily influenced by The Cure and New Order. After a while, Tracy Retzky came on board as the bass player and Jimmy Chamberlin as the drummer. Jimmy was more into jazz, and only after a few rehearsals did they realize how much he could rock out. They released their first local independent single in 1989 and an album in 1991 called Gish. But it was when the alternative movement went mainstream in 92 that they really started to take off. They sold 4 million albums with Siamese Dream and heard a lot of criticism from their independent rocker friends. So Billy Corgan worked non-stop for the next couple of years and wrote 56 songs for their next album. What he called The Wall for Generation X, the 3-record set known as Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. That album sold over 10 million records in the US and is the biggest multi-CD of the 90s. 28 songs, many of them classics, like Zero, 1979, and my favorite from that Real World episode, Tonight Tonight. They had lesser success after that and broke up a few years later, but they are probably the third most popular band that came out of the 1990s, and are talking about getting back together for a reunion. From the Predator.